Okay, so the next technique will be combining knee cut, punching down the hook, and instead of finishing on the side control, we'll be finishing on a submission hold. This is something I did at the ADCC trials, and I've done very often in sparring. So we use any of the entries that we've done, we step inside our opponent's guard, we go for our knee cut, but now he's framing. Just like as the previous technique, we will be pushing into our opponent, dropping this knee towards the mat, leaning back, and punching down the hook. Once you have a deep underhook like this, you can always try to pass your opponent's guard, but sometimes in a match, tournament, or even in training, you want to go for the submission instead of the pass. So I like to do this position when he's pushing me with his knee away, where I turn my hips to the side. So now he's pushing and he's actually helping me pass. Now, if I want to attack this arm, like we're about to do, you really have to pull your opponent facing you. He would like to put his back on the floor once he realizes that we're going for the armbar. So we need to be pulling our opponent like this. Just like before, we brought our hand over our opponent's head. You can do the same exact thing because we will be looking to step over this leg like this. My other ankle will be inside his half guard. So what you want to do is when you step over, you will clear that by stepping onto the floor. And now, as we're pulling him into the mat, into us, his back will be quite much off the floor. And that's the key that allows me to spin over his shoulder and bring my knee or my ankle towards the floor like this. I will be holding the same deep underhook on the side. And now I will sit on my hip, and my knee will come over his armpit like this. We want to keep his shoulder facing our hips. The problem to most arm bars becomes when his shoulder is on the floor and he's able to move quite a lot. But if I'm able to lift his shoulder off the floor as I pinch, it's hard for him to try to spin at the moment. And for us, it's easier to reach his thumb. We push our knees together, and now the underhook, I still have it placed. It will just slide up towards his wrist, and I'm gonna look to do the thumbs up with his hand. So once you're in the thumbs up position, we lock our elbows, we squeeze our knees, and now we really have to think about us facing our opponent's hips. If I would go to the other side, this for him makes it easy to spin and clear the armbar. So once you arrive into the spinning armbar, you're oftentimes going to be like this, where his shoulder is facing like this. So what you want to do once you arrive here, you have the thumbs up. You want to think about your body leaning this way. Now if my opponent tries to do the spinning armbar defense, it's quite hard to do because I can push his wrist and his elbow against my far thigh over here. Something just popped.
No,
No worries. So again, we'll be at the open guard. We're gonna step into our knee cut position, and now he's framing. We punch the underhook, and now we want to keep this elbow extremely close to our body. You will step over with your hand, make your opponent go curled, and now if he does nothing, you can choose to do the previous technique where we just passed his guard by clearing the hips, dropping our elbow, or if you feel like he's pushing you away with his knee, that usually gives good momentum for us to spin this knee, really pull him and step him over his head. This is called a top spin because I will step on top of his head and I will drop my knee towards the floor and I will turn my body to the side. You always want to hold the elbow quite deep and high so it doesn't go close to his body. Sometimes here he's able to lock his hands. If he locks his hand, it's still fine. I can now, instead of having my knee like this, I can just step over because now he's committed to the defense of the armbar. He's not so committed in spinning out of the position. And from here, there's a couple different ways you can do to clear his grip. Something that I like to do quite often is just going for his wrist, sliding and pulling this towards his second side of his head. And now again, you want to think about bringing this elbow and this shoulder to your opponent's hips instead of the other way. This for him is great. This for him makes things complicated. As you see, my spine doesn't actually follow the line, so I'm just going to have to push his elbow to the side of my hips whilst I extend my hips towards him. So again, you step inside the knee cut, you want to make your opponent push. So you want to do that exercise where you're pushing in, pulling out, pushing in to punch down the hook. Elbow close to his ribs. You can even use your hands to pull him close to you. Drop your body and knee to the side. Once your knee is on the floor, you can spin. I will spin so my heel touches the floor and then my knee will follow once I arrive to the second side. Once I arrive to the second side, pay attention to my right knee. It will go up because we'll be looking to spin inside like so. If I do this well, he won't have time to connect his hands because here I'll already be holding his wrist. And again, if I stay on this side, it's easier to spin. So you want to make sure you go towards the other side. Elbows in, pulling, pushing, and the direction will be more like so instead of this. So pushing in like this. Do this from another angle. So open guard. This one works really well. Once I try the knee cut, we go over here, and now I really pull him close to me. If he chooses to push with the knee shield leg, that gives me indication that I can do this armbar. So again, once I step, I will go heel, knees. And once my knee goes towards the floor, my other knee comes up. And now from here, I base on my hand and I will switch and turn like so. Free hand close immediately to make the thumbs. And I will squeeze my knees together. You already know, this side is good for him, this side is not so good. And again, the direction will not be so much pulling, it will be actually twisting, squeezing your knees together and going to this side to finish down. This is something I did at the semifinals of the ADCC trials, and I was very successful with that, so let's try.